Zane Clodfelter with OttersTV here with the Deputy Commissioner of the Frontier League, Steve Tahsler. And Steve, obviously, thank you for joining us. And it's been, to say the least, a very interesting 2020 baseball season for the Frontier League, wouldn't you say?
It's amazing. We never would have expected a circumstance like this in all the planning we've ever done. You know, we never thought about a virus or a concept that could just completely shut us down. You know, we know it's significant, we know it's serious, we know it's impacted people in many locations. We still wish, we wish we were playing, but we understand why it's not realistic.
Right, absolutely. And I don't want to delve in too much into the reason to, cancel the season, because that's in the history. We're obviously looking forward now to 2021. But how difficult was it, considering I don't think a lot of people realize, at least the fans, how big of a geographic footprint the Frontier League now has, not only here in the United States, but now across the northern border into Canada. So when you were still trying to put a season together for 2020, how difficult was it when you realized all the different procedures and restrictions in place, really in each different market?
Once we realized that opening day was not realistic as scheduled, and we pretty much knew that the first week of April, we came up with a scenario for a 72-game season beginning of around June 12th, and we came up for the scenario for a 48-game season beginning with what the All-Star break would have been, just in case it worked out. The further we got along, the more we saw how things were expanding, how cases were increasing, how restrictions were needing to be tightened in order to try to maintain it. And it was many factors that led to the decision, from what you can do locally to how you can travel across state lines. Can you cross the Canadian border now that we're back with two teams in Canada? To even on a different level, the state may say you can play, but the local health department or your local government or your local landlord who owns the ballpark has their own set of restrictions, their own set of requirements. So when we looked at all that as a whole, we realized playing the 14-team schedules we thought was not going to work. Then we figured out, then we went to what's the next best scenario. We didn't want to really play a half schedule with some teams playing, some teams not, especially because you still would have cross state lines travel involved.
Right.
And you didn't know if you could start and stop. Kind of what some were seeing with Major League Baseball, with the Cardinals and with the Cincinnati Reds and with the New York Mets and with the Miami Marlins. You know, how to handle for that at our level. We don't have the chartered jets and we don't have the full-fledged medical staff and concepts like that. So that's what led us to the decision we made, kind of a compromise decision where the way we handled the suspension of the season allowed teams that had access to the ballpark to do events and even play exhibition or unofficial non-Frontier League games in the ballpark, while not forcing the teams that did not have access or for whom it was just not reasonable from health department, from community safety issues, anything like that, but not forcing them to play. So we, given all the circumstances, we felt like we came up with the best scenario that allowed for as much baseball as possible while still realizing that it was not going to be the baseball we want.
Right, absolutely. And I know with your job, you're traveling from ballpark to ballpark, it seems, every day, just with your Frontier League responsibilities. So how much have you missed that aspect of your summer, one, being on the road, and then seeing all the different people here in this league?
It's just so much different. This is the first time in 25 years I've been home over the summer. Just not being at a ball game, not following ball games on a regular basis. I'll look at the calendar and I think, we got to get the All-Star votes in. Or we should be getting ready for the All-Star game tonight, or the transaction deadline's tomorrow. We're then realizing, in theory, yes, in reality, no. And it's just such a different circumstance. Part of it feels like we're still just in an extended spring, waiting for opening day to come, and other times it's the realization that there really is no opening day this year. And our goals and our hopes are to see what's it going to take to be able to launch 2021 in a safe and yet widespread and popular manner as possible.
Right. So speaking about 2021, obviously, I'm sure the wheels are in motion with your office, with Billy and everybody else, in trying to make sure there's a 2021 season. Are there any important dates that you're looking at on the calendar in terms of when you'd like to have potentially a schedule, or any other developments when it comes to 2021 announced?
Our goal is usually the first week of October to at least have the schedule internally distributed. It might not be ready for public consumption yet, but at least behind the scenes, the individual teams will know their schedule the first week of October. We don't know if that's accurate this year for a few reasons. One is obviously we don't know what the virus restrictions are going to be. if they're going to let up, if a vaccine's going to come, if the flu season is going to cause a spike, as some medical professionals say. So it's such a complex issue on the medical side, and it's nothing that our day-to-day Frontier League people have a chance of understanding because it's so complex. We don't want to guess and we don't want to make wrong decisions, but we also want to make all the plans behind the scenes so when an announcement or a picture comes clear, we're ready to act upon it as soon as possible. We're still going to work on a schedule to be at least internal, hopefully around October 1st. I don't know. I don't think it'll be realistic to make it public then because we still have to see how things play out. Then you've got the whole other aspect of the Minor League Baseball National Association agreement expiring, talk about contracting teams, talking about teams that had been a Major League affiliate now looking for a place to play, how that circumstance could play out as well. So it's just a second factor on top of the virus that's going to cause a delay in us being able to officially announce a 2021 schedule.
Right, absolutely. And then, obviously as we look at things and your involvement with the Frontier League, this year it would have been a special year. I know everybody within the Otters organization was excited about the expansion. You had the new teams from the Can-Am League joining. Is a little disappointing the timing of this where you have a new and improved expanded league with new franchises and new matchups only to have to wait at least a year for those to be realized?
Same thing. It's extremely disappointing on one hand, but it's also realistic, and we can't complain about it because it's such a significant issue and we don't want to downplay the challenges people are having these days.
Right.
Yes, everyone was incredibly excited, both in a holdover Frontier League markets and in the new markets that had been in the Can-Am League. There was a lot of excitement, a lot of newness, new teams coming in, going to visit new places, people like an Andy McCauley going back to Quebec City. We purposely set the schedule so Andy, who managed in Quebec City in the early 2000s, was going to be their home opener. We made a point of making sure that happened.
Yeah.
You've got a guy like a Brooks Curie, who was a pitching coach in Evansville, that would now with the New Jersey Jackals would be coming back into town. You've got a handful of former Frontier League players that were now with Can-Am teams. You've got former Can-Am League players that were with Frontier League teams. You've got all the excitement we had about the joint All-Star game last year and how well that was received. And just, the initial we were really overwhelmed with the positivity when we made the announcement last October. We thought there was going to be some pushback or some people complaining about going too far, being too big or too spread out, and it was not. I can't remember a negative comment. The comments were all excitement and optimism and positive, and it seemed like there was more excitement leading into 2021 than I remember in many years. Unfortunately, like I said, the situation changed. We couldn't do that. So now the goal is to carry that excitement over into the 2021 season to try to capitalize on that as much as possible.
Finally, you have a track record with Evansville. You're a former GM of the team in the mid-2000s, obviously, with your role in the Frontier League. You've been back to Bossey Field a handful of times, probably hundreds of thousands of times since the 2006 season. But when you get back to Bossey Field again, what's going to be the first thing, going through your mind when you're, back in a familiar place like Bossey Field and here in Evansville?
Honestly, the first thing's probably going to be, where's Marvin?
Yeah.
Because I knew Marvin for so long and so well, and behind the scenes when I was the general manager, and even before that, my first stint when I was the director of operations, he was such a help and such a resource, and you always knew he was going to be there. So even though it's been a few years, generally the first thing when I pull in, I think, is what's Marvin up to? Mm-hmm. Aside from that, it's just going to be walking through the gates. Again, it's well over 1,000 games I'm sure I've seen at Bossey Field in the 25 years I've been in the Frontier League. Every time I walk through the gates, I get excited. The history, the colors, the passion, the excitement, the track record the Otters have of a winning organization and a well-received, well-drawing organization, it's overwhelming positively every time I walk through the gates.
Well, Steve, we're looking forward to that time when you're able to do that and when we're able to take in an Evansville Otters game together, obviously, in the press box. But until then, be safe, continued health, and we'll have Frontier League baseball before we know it, right?
Yes, we will, and we'll be doing press box trivia and handing out the baseball and all the other fun activities that go with making an Otters game so enjoyable. We're, again, 27 years after the team first launched.
Right.
People are still coming out, still having fun, and that's just a great testament to the brand the Otters have established and to the way the Evansville community has received the team.
He's Steve Tahsler, Deputy Commissioner of the Frontier League. I'm Zane Clodfelter, and this has been Otters TV.